Making your own container mix or potting soil doesn't have to be intimidating or hard. It's actually pretty easy to make. Today I'm going to show you how you can make your own potting soil from these ingredients back here. Very simple, and you'll also save some money too. You're in the garden with Patrick. So what I'm trying to do today is we're going to be taking this citrus tree, this key lime tree that we purchased, and my daughter made this beautiful pot from a terracotta pot, and we're going to take that plant, this key lime tree, and we're going to pot it in here. Now, a couple things that you can do very simple is I could have just gone to my big box store or local nursery and purchased a bag of potting soil and we're done. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can make your own container mix, and you can save a little bit of money by doing it your own way, this way, mixing it. What will happen is also the more you're going to use the or pot, you're going to have a lot more savings as you do more of these. So for example, in my garden, this is a brand new pot, so I need to either purchase a bag or we can again make some that, like what we're doing today. I'm going to show you how we're going to make our own potting mix, because we're not only going to be potting this, but I also have some vegetables that we're going to be putting in containers also. I'm going to be doing some sweet potatoes, and I'll put links in the description box below for all of these different things that we're going to be doing, how to plant potatoes and in containers and all the container things that we do. So and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of these updates also. So let's get started and show you how we're going to make a real simple mix of container mix using pretty much 3 ingredients. You're going to use peat moss, you're going to use some type of compost, and then you're going to either use a perlite or you can also use like a vermiculite or something along those lines. If you want to add some fertilizer into the mix, you can also do that. I have here, we're using the citrus, but you can also add that. So a lot of these containers, the potting mix bags that you're going to buy, it'll say that it feeds for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And the reason it says that is because it has this slow release granular fertilizer inside of the actual potting mix. So I'm going to show you a real simple recipe that you can do on how to make your own potting mix. So you don't really need to make things real complicated. I like to keep things as simple as possible. So we're going to take this container, and it's about 7 quarts. And we're going to place this key lime tree inside of it. So we're going to need around, maybe 6 quarts of the potting mix or container mix. Okay, so to start your container mix, you're going to use 3 basic materials. You're going to use a peat moss or a cocoa core. That's going to be some of your organic material. You're going to also use some type of a compost, and that'll be your second organic material. And then you're going to use either a perlite or a vermiculite, and that will be allowing your soil to have a little bit of more fluffiness and allow those roots to get down deep into your soil. It won't be compacted, and then also the perlite especially will retain a little bit of that water. The third thing, bonus, if you will, is you're going to add also a granular fertilizer to your mixture, and then that will help to fertilize your plants as they grow over time. And then you'll of course want to give them some liquid fertilizer every 7 to 10 days, or depending on the growing season, etc. So we're going to start off with our peat moss here. Okay, now this cup here is actually 3 cups. So what I like to do is think about it along these lines. The basic mixture that we're going to do is 1 part of perlite, 1 part of compost, and 1 part of the peat moss. Now, if you want something a little bit more organic, you can put 1 part peat moss, 2 parts compost, and 1 part perlite. Again, you make it how you feel like you want to make it. And that's what the beauty of making your own versus getting it purchased, and you get pretty much what you get. So Today we're gonna see what it looks like doing one part, and I may add maybe a second of our compost in there, just as a more of adding more nutrient value to this mixture. So the first thing we're going to do is, again, to make our 8 quarts, we're going to need about 9 of these cups, or really 3 each. Okay, so we're going to just take our compost here. I'm sorry, our peat moss first. So we're going to just take 1. And I would advise on your peat moss, we're not doing that right at the moment, but I would advise you to wet it. If you are starting from the beginning, wet that first so it's not as dry. Okay, so we're going to take 3 of those. We're going to take our compost and we're going to take 3 parts of compost, and we're adding that into our mixture. And depending on what kind of compost you have, I make my own homemade compost, and I would advise you to really start doing that. I'm going to put a link below in the description box on how to make your own compost at home. So we're going to do 3 of those, and then we're going to use the vermiculite here. I'm sorry, the perlite. I do have some vermiculite here, and I'll show you the differences between the two and what they look like. Okay, but basically this is the perlite, and you can purchase this anywhere, both the vermiculite and the perlite. You can get it at your big box store, your local nursery, or you can get it online. So we're going to put that in there, and if you are sensitive, I would really advise that you wear maybe a mask. So now I'm going to put 2 of these in here instead of the 3, and you'll see why here in just a second. And then I'm going to put 1 more of the compost. So again, you have a lot of options here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do first is I want you to see this mixture here and what it looks like. So you can just, if you want, you can wear gloves. You can mix that up with your hands, or just like what I'm doing here. All right. So this is your basic. I'll show you a close-up of this, and you see why I only use 2 of those perlites. Let's take a look. So if you see here, this has got quite a bit of perlite in it, and which again isn't necessarily a bad thing, but the organic material, the peat moss and the compost, are a little bit overwhelmed by